Awesome. Thank you, Ann, and thank you, everybody, for your attention. So we're still relatively new, 2.5-year-old company. We're based in the Yukon, focused in the Yukon and focused on greenfield gold discoveries. Just note on forward-looking statements, I will be making some. And I just wanted to start by showing you some of our drill core. And so please bear with me if you're not a geologist, and please bear with me if you are a geologist. But just a quick explanation of what you're looking at. This is right from the top of hole 37. That's box 1 to 3. It's about 13 meters total core length. Each one of those runs is just over a meter. And you can see it's like a countertop granite. That salt and pepper texture is what you'd basically see in an unaltered, in this case, granodiorite. And the quartz veins are what carry the mineralization. So this is a gold discovery. It's called a Fort Knox style or a reduced intrusion-related gold system. And it's basically, it's bulk tonnage because that granite is barren. And so these have been overlooked, I think, for a long time. It's just the quartz veins that are really carrying the grade, and they're generally thought to be low-grade systems. You get the rule of thumb when you look at systems like Fort Knox in Alaska or Eagle in the Yukon is you get 3 to 5 veins in a meter, and you're kind of cooking. It's you're in that half gram to gram per ton range, and so that's what you're looking for, and that's the conventional wisdom. Fort Knox is currently mining 0.3 grams per ton with a 0.1 cutoff, based largely because of the scale, the continuity, and the metallurgy of these systems. Like, it's low grade, but it works. Similarly, at Eagle, the closest operating mine of this type, they're operating an average grade of 0.65 grams per ton. Again, with 0.2 gram per ton cutoff. So it doesn't take much to make these systems work. That interval you're looking at there, that's so 13 meters averages out to just under a gram per ton. So although the rock doesn't look like much, it's actually pretty exciting and right from the surface. And this is immediately below that. We're still in mineralization. We're down at 30 meters depth there, and the grades are picking up. You can see a few more quartz veins coming into the picture. Down below that, grades picking up. More quartz veins. We're still in mineralization. Below that, still in mineralization. And you can notice from time to time there's a little red piece of flagging tape. When our geos see visible gold in the drill core, they'll staple a piece of flagging tape to the core. And so starting to see bits of VG show up in the mineralization. We're still in mineralization. Still in mineralization, 2.5 grams. These are really nice grades for this kind of a system. You don't normally see that. Still in mineralization. Keep in mind each one of these photos is covering about the length of a semi-trailer, 13 meters. Still mineralization. Again, looking at that 3 to 5 vein per meter density, this is actually unusually high grade. We're getting densities of, some of these have 10 plus veins per meter. Still mineralization. We're now more than 100 meters down this hole. Keeps going. Nice pop to 6 grams. Still mineralization. Absurdly high vein densities for this kind of a system. Still mineralization. Still going. That's looking really juicy. Still going. You can see a lot of these VG tags. Still going. The tags are picking up at the bottom of the hole. Here the geologist decided, screw it, I'm getting out the roll of flagging tape. And we're still going. Still going. It's pretty boring, actually. This is a dry photo just to keep it entertaining. There's wet again. Still going. Notice the grades are really abnormal for this kind of a system where we're looking for that 0.5 to 1. Still going. Still going. Still going. And now we're getting into, you notice the grades start to tail off a little bit. And we're in this darker phase. We're not in that salt and pepper texture, and that's actually key. We're now in this porphyritic phase that we think is a driver for what has made this such an unusually high-grade reduced intrusion system. So we just looked at hole 37. You can see that's the one with the label highlighted in red. We went from surface down to the edge of that fine granodiorite unit that you see. And initially we thought that fine granodiorite was the end. You can see we ended hole 37 within it. But that wasn't even our best hole that we just walked through. It's only a 12-minute talk, so we don't have time to go through that one. But that's 39 over to the side, where we went around that fine granodiorite, and we're finding that actually the high-grade mineralization wraps around this thing, and so goes to depths deeper than what we've seen before. And so to get an idea quickly of hole 39, just for context, there's the core laid out in the core yard. those assay tags, the interval, the color scale is pink is greater than 5 grams per ton gold. And look at the number of pink tags. Those are at least a meter in length going up that hole. That average over the 132 meters you're looking at is 5 grams per ton from surface. And then, yeah, over an entire interval, that's 553.8 meters at averaging 2.5 grams. So, yeah, again, looking at 39 just for context, that is the CN Tower from surface at 4 times the average grade of the nearest producing mine of this type. So this is a pretty special discovery. Now, just stripping away the labels and just looking at the grade distribution, you can see a few things. The continuity that we saw in going through the drill core, but also the distribution of grades near surface. The best grades are right near surface, which is exactly where you'd want them to be. You dig into this material, you're digging into that 132 meters at 5 grams per ton from day one. And you can start to see how a pit would take shape here. I think ultimately we'll hire somebody more experienced than myself, but we have a starter plan there that I did this morning at like 5 a.m., and it looks pretty good. But you can see there's very low stripping ratio. That hole on the right, that hole 45, 500 meters at gram per ton. So you're still on the edge of the pit, and you're over the grade of both Fort Knox and Eagle by a long shot. Same with the western wall. That's 400 meters of 1 gram per ton from surface. So, and then the system's going to depth, especially on that western flank. That's 2 grams per ton over 233 meters and open to depth. So that's within the realm of block caveable mineralization. And again, for scale, 200 meters down in the bottom there, this is a very large system. And just for context, where it is, we couldn't have designed a better spot for it, given the place that we're exploring. It's in the middle of a big, broad, flat valley. That's a very crude design. Don't go out there and start mining based on my dotted line, please. But that's essentially where it's located. So as you could see in the cross-section, and I'll point out, actually, a lot of people think this is a long section along the deposit. This is a cross-section. This is a slice of bread through the deposit. And so that's looking at it from above. That cross-section we were looking at was A to A prime. We're still in the midst of an active drill campaign out there. The red shows the latest results we had where we drilled around the edges of what we thought were the edges of the system, and we're still getting into grades that are carrying nice intervals above 1 gram per ton. So we're still figuring out not only the depth of the system, but the breadth of this near-surface high-grade mineralization. And again, just pointing out the scale, 200 meters, you can see a nice strike length taking shape that's a good 500 to 600 meters, depending on your grade shells. And if you drop down to the cutoff grades of other systems, it's wide open at 700 plus meters, width of over 500 meters, open to the north, open to depth, and hanging together extremely nicely. And just putting those drill holes in context in terms of what has come down the pipelines in exploration and development stage companies, in terms of holes over the past 2 years since we really started drilling Valley in earnest. 8 of the top 10 holes for open pittable bulk tonnage gold deposits are from Valley, and we're not just drilling the same piece of rock from different angles. As you saw, we're stepping out over a big area and seeing remarkable consistency. And there's always a catch, and it's always refractory, but thankfully this is not refractory. It's actually, it shares that characteristic with Eagle and with Fort Knox, that the gold is free gold primarily occurring along grain boundaries in those little quartz veins. It makes it very easy to mine, and it's what makes it work at low grades, and we think it could make it work at high grades too. And that said, it's also fairly clean mineralization. You saw it's just that countertop granite. It's very much like a roadside quarry. Even we did acid-base accounting in addition to the metallurgy, and we see a buffering effect of 40 to 300 times the small level of acid generating potential of these rocks, so naturally buffered mineralization. And for context, zooming further out from that drill hole we started on, this is the regional picture. We have a 300,000 hectare land position, primarily in the eastern Yukon. We're first and basically only movers in a large geological feature that got us interested out there in the first place. Valley is a fantastic discovery, but it's also proof of concept that the regional scale hypothesis that we launched the company around holds water, that these rocks can produce very large gold systems, and we're very happy to be out there exploring Valley, and very happy as to what that implies for the rest of the targets, and we're actively exploring on those fronts as well. So just the company at a glance, we currently have 144 million shares out, 160 fully diluted. We're well cashed up with $44 million in the bank and another 18 million in warrants that are well in the money that are coming due within the next year. We have strong insider and growing institutional ownership, as well as a 9.9% stake owned by B2 Gold. We've also built a team in-house. We're a principal-driven company, and that's attracted a lot of very bright talent to the company. And we've done a lot of legwork to build systems and build our exploration and build our knowledge from the ground up. So I think we benefit from year after year coming at it with the same team and really getting to know these rocks in the district extremely well. And the company we are looking to build, I'm born and raised in the Yukon. I live in the Yukon now with my family, and it is, it's a wonderful place, and we would like to build a company that is very good for the Yukon. That's been a part of the plan from the start, and so, operating with a high degree of environmental respect, operating with an eye towards building community, a mine can be a wonderful thing for a jurisdiction, and it can be a horrible thing for a jurisdiction depending on how it goes. So, you have to put in the work, and we're starting from day one with that mentality and trying to build this into something very beneficial for the place that many of us in the company call home. And that said, we have an ethos of going big. We think these rocks have world-class potential, and I think we're showing that they have world-class potential, and so that's what we're out here to find. And finally, if we don't hold ourselves to these principles, operate with integrity, it becomes just the standard ESG slide that's required in everybody's corporate deck. So this is really a part of our DNA and part of the way that we operate. So we hold ourselves to these every day. And the company itself comes from prospecting efforts started by my dad in the 1980s. He had a really bright idea to just walk out into the bush and see if he could find mineral deposits. And as a self-taught prospector, and somehow he made ends meet and stumbled into some really exciting terrain. Our competitive advantage was always to go where other people were not, and we've over a long enough time span. Some of those, you generally find why people aren't there, but occasionally you find something new and interesting, and over 30 years, those interesting things start to accumulate, and so that's where we were when we launched Snowline. We had a lot of targets that we couldn't give away, and really the next stage was to get somebody, get the money to try to drill it, and so that was the genesis of Snowline. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. You've got 30 seconds for a quick question, if there's one.
Scott, you've got the Rosetta Stone in Valley in terms of understanding that system and the fact it's so prolific. How are you going to apply it to the pipeline of other targets? Maybe just touch on the pipeline of similar type targets.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And going back to that regional picture, there are a lot of targets, especially on that Rogue project, which is a cluster of these intrusions of similar age and similar provenance that measures roughly 60 kilometers east-west by 30 kilometers north-south. And yeah, Valley paints a picture of what's there. It's a perfect level of erosion to just trip across it like we did, but now we can explore a little bit more intelligently. And so we are looking at vectors around the intrusions and also, what makes Valley special within the intrusion to try to fingerprint that. And, I'd be lying if I said that we'd translated the stone perfectly at this point, but we're certainly have some of our best linguists looking at the stone and trying to piece it all together. And it certainly is a nice place to start, knowing that potential is there in the district, and to have that, as you said, Rosetta Stone, to try to look at, okay, what part of Valley is this that we're looking at here, or is it part of Valley, or is it a valley?
Thanks very much, Scott. Certainly it's been